Bat Force Radio.
Bat Force Radio is rated M for mature, or should that be immature?
Hey guys, Dustin Wynn.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder.
This is Paul Dini.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
And you're listening to Bat Force Radio.
You're listening to Bat Force Radio.
This is Tom King. I write Batman Bitch, and this is Bat Force Radio.
Listen up, guys. Here at the Bat Force, you know we don't bullshit you. And to our listeners, we got you hooked up. That's why we've teamed up with Hex Brand. You can get 20% off right now using the code BATFORCE20. Look, Hex draws on decades of experience in fashion, music, and art, which is applied to cutting-edge, urban chic bags for either your camera gear, sneakers, and in our case, comic book collecting. Hex teamed up with the legendary comic book artist Jim Lee to design the quintessential comic book collecting backpack, a tool that we consider on a Bat Force level of collecting. You can get the black and yellow version with Jim Lee's iconic Batman artwork on the front of the bag, or the all-black version. Hex even offers a portfolio bag for prints and commissions. The Hex Jim Lee Collector's Backpack, which also is labeled as Dawn of the Bat, comes with custom fleece line dividers that can accommodate CGC slab books, as well as raw comics, trade paperbacks, hardcovers, deluxe editions, absolute editions, and even action figure clamshells. It has a hidden anti-theft zipper clasp so people don't steal your shit. It has side water bottle pockets, which also function as holders for print tubes, custom molded Batman zipper pulls, a laptop compartment, exterior sunglass, phone, and or face mask pocket, durable water-resistant nylon shell so your comics and collectibles don't get fucked up, padded mesh for the comfort of your back, and an organizer for your art supplies, whether you're an artist or getting signatures and commissioned art. Go to hexbrand.com, HEXbrand.com, and use our promotional code BATFORCE20 to get 20% off this bag, and it comes with free shipping. Hex even offers the option of payment plans. You can click the link on our social media as well to shop directly for the discount. Listen, Gotham, in these times, your local comic shops need you to bring this epic piece of gear in and fill it up with comics and collectibles. It will also ensure your readiness for the much anticipated return of comic book conventions. Act now and secure yours, because there were a limited number of these bags made, and each one actually comes with a specific edition number. The code is BATFORCE20. That is 20% off, free shipping, payment plans available. Tell them the Bat Force sent you.
Welcome back to Bat Force Radio, the Batman and DC podcast with no limits. We're going to get right into this week's roundtable because, well, it is a big roundtable. It is just big and round. It's a thick roundtable.
Huge.
We've got Bat Force Tom in California.
What's up, guys?
Grandpa Batman in Texas.
Howdy.
The Grumpler in New York.
Hey.
The Trunkler in Chicago.
What's going on?
Jesus in New York.
Believe us.
And Dope Dave also in New York. And I'm Robin Cross in Canada. So, both of this week's guests are creators of this week's Catwoman issue 23, along with artist Kian Tormey, who you heard on the show here just a couple months ago. Up first is an author of Everglade Angels, Heavy Metal, Vampirella, and Fathom. Joining us for the first time, she is Blake Northcott.
Hi, guys.
Hey.
Yeah.
And unless you've been living under a rock and your rock does not have Wi-Fi or Twitter, then you are already familiar with tonight's other guest. Returning to the show, he is Sean Murphy.
Hey, everybody. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for being here, guys. Sean, once again, and Blake for the first time. How's everything been? You guys are surviving through this same life situation we all are. How's everything going?
Yep. I'm in Toronto, so just surviving here, hunkered down in my house, writing every day, but I have 2 kids, so trying to manage them is quite interesting, but everyone is healthy, so that's good. And yeah, just getting back to work.
Yeah, I'm doing all right too. I luckily started a Indiegogo
right at the correct time when the industry shut down. So it ended up being a smart move that I wish I could say was part of my long-term plan, but it just worked out in my favor. So we'll see. I'm hoping the industry can get back up on its feet sooner than later and get back to shows, because I miss seeing you guys when I saw you. I miss seeing Blake.
Yeah, cons. I hope we get to do them soon. They're so much
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, man.
I was looking forward. You were scheduled for Dallas, and man, I was ready to take you out for some beer and barbecue. So
I would have
hopefully
taken
we
you
get
out,
to
man.
reschedule that.
No, I'm pretty sure I owe you all you guys drinks, Blake included. So I owe you guys are thanks, Blake.
you guys were both going to be in Toronto as well. So.
Yep.
Oh, that's right. Yes.
That was next month, right? It's supposed to be next month.
Stupid
Yeah,
end of
we
the
have
world.
the Fan Expo in Toronto was so much fun, and I was really looking forward to Sean and his awesome wife Colleen coming up, because last year they invited me down to New York Comic Con. We had a great time hanging out. So I was like, I want to show you guys Toronto. We're gonna do it up and have a great time, but everything kind of bit the dust this year.
Someone ate a bat. Had to eat a bat.
I know. Thanks, Obama.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, at least Sean was able to come to the important convention at C2E2 this year. So.
Yeah, honestly, C2E2 was the last hurrah. I remember thinking, like, should I go out and have another? Nah, I'm gonna be cool. And in hindsight, I wish I had gone out and gotten fucked up and gone to strip clubs and done whatever the hell you're supposed to do when you go crazy.
Well, Sean, next time you're up here, just like last time when met with to have a couple drinks, I'll take you to some clubs.
There you go.
Oh,
Yep.
Sean's never going to be seen again.
Maybe an apple teeny or two.
We call him the Trunkler, and you're going to find the trunk.
You know, it's. I just realized. I think this is the first time we've ever had a billionaire on the show with us, Blake. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
Confirmed billionaire.
That's right.
How
was
funny
it
is
discovered
that?
that Blake is a billionaire? That's so nice. I wonder how you did that, Blake.
I don't know. It's quite a feat. Yeah, it's pretty funny. Somebody sent that to me and they were like, "Did you know you're worth this much money?" And I was like, "Geez, am I?" Like, holy crap! But it changes daily, so
don't tell my kids, huh?
Yeah.
That's the only reason I was being nice to Blake, or I wanted to use her billions to fund my own book.
There you go.
That would be I would start my own company there for sure.
Well, let's start with that. Talk you starting a company. Let's talk about your beginnings. In writing, in everything, because you were writing in magazines from a really young age. You've written novels. You've been doing a lot aside from comics. What made you want to get into writing? It was very young, and what led to you being successful there?
Okay, loaded question. Let me think here. Well, when I was growing up, I always had a love of books and literature, so I was always reading. I was always a girl with my nose in a book. I wrote some poetry when I was growing up that got published, so that was really cool for me in 17 magazine, and kind of planted that seed of, wow, like you can be a writer and have things published, and that could be a career option. So I went through school. I have a university degree, so I went to McMaster University here in Canada, and I have a BA in English literature. And right out of school, I decided to go into insurance, because why not? So I actually worked in insurance for like 12 years before I ended to start my professional career writing. But like how I met Sean and everything was back in around 2012. I had done a series of books called The Arena Mode Saga, and I ended up getting in touch with Mark Miller online, and he had said, I really liked your book, and I think you have a lot of potential. Would you be interested in doing some editorial work for me in the back of my comics? And, I've been a long time comic fan, so I was jumping at the chance. I was like, yes, of course. So that ended up being a really fun way to get kind of like started in the comic writing. And that was when I met Sean, actually, because he was working on Chrononauts with Mark Miller. So we ended up having to kind of go back and forth a little bit, just chatting, about, I was curating the fan art section. So, he was giving me some really great feedback. And we had a couple of really hilarious back and forths that I still remember.
I remember joking around about male thigh gap.
Yeah.
And, I remember emailing you, and I'm like, I have a sense that this girl can take a joke. So I sent her this picture of these guys going into this like time warp thing, and I happened to draw it from behind, so you get a great shot of this guy's ass, and he has perfect like J. Scott Campbell thigh gap that I happened to draw, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe women appreciate thigh gap just as much as men do. So I took a chance and made a joke, and luckily it went over well. Blake laughed, and that's began our friendship, I guess.
Did that embolden you to then send her your reference photo that you used for the
Yeah.
Oh gosh. So yeah, anyway, we've had some really fun like back and forth, and I've kept in touch with him, over the years, and he's such a talented artist, and I was always impressed with how funny he is, and his wife is an amazing writer too. So we finally actually met last year in person, which is crazy that we've known each other for so long, but didn't meet until New York Comic Con. So I've done a lot of novel writing, which kind of led through my career and then got me into comics.
I remember because my wife Colleen was she's not too active on social media, but she's like, who's Blake Northcott? I'm like, oh yeah, she's kind of an E friend. And she's like, she like favorites everything I say, and she's super nice. I was like, oh yeah, that totally is. And she's like, you should hang out with her. I'm like, okay, great. And so I don't know how we ended up connecting. I think we connected over some Twitter drama that we were both flabbergasted by. And, yeah.
Twitter drama, you say?
That never happens.
Yeah. So and so yeah. I mean, I'm happy to help anybody to get into comics, and if it's a friend, someone I like, even better. I'm very friendship loyal, and if I can help men, women, I don't care. So Blake was going. She wanted to go to New York. She's like, you got to go to New York. Come on, let's go. So I was like, okay, let's do it. And my wife isn't one to like go out for late nights and stuff. So Blake became my wing woman, and she came with me to the green room, and I introduced her and showed her around and met her up to all my friends and all that stuff, and did everything I could to help her out. And we hooked up with Ben Abernathy, who's another friend. It's funny because there's very few people in comics I would really call friends who are really outstanding, loyal, good, hardworking people, and Ben is absolutely one of them. So I definitely wanted to have her meet Ben Abernathy, and luckily they connected on this Catwoman project.
Yeah, it all just kind of happened really quickly too, actually. But it was so nice to be able to, go to. I've never been to New York Comic Con before, so to be there and see it kind of like through your eyes, like getting to experience everything, and meeting all these, in my mind, I'm like this huge dork running up to like people like Scott Snyder and Greg Capullo, and I'm like, holy crap, I can't believe I'm standing here talking to these people. So it was pretty fun.
Yeah, and to me, these people are old hat. I'm like, that guy, oh, he's really an asshole. Don't worry about him.
No.
Dave Johnson, yeah, fuck Dave Johnson, blah, blah, blah. So it was fun. She got the behind the curtains view, but actually, I think you did a drink and draw or something with some of my friends before, and I wasn't aware. But you were kind of already in the club. Like, you didn't really need me.
Yeah, no, I've known a couple people, so, but it was really fun to go anyway.
Yeah.
We had a great time.
So how did the Catwoman project come about? How did you guys come to working on not the White Knight universe, but just the mainline Catwoman?
How did this come about? Well, when we were there, we ended up sitting down with Dan Didio, I think. Wasn't it Dan in the green room?
Yeah,
Blake, good to see you. How you doing? Blake?
Yeah.
Fantastic. I love the story already.
How often do you get to do that? You mastered that impression, and now that he's gone, and I hope he comes back because I like Dan, but you don't get to do that impression very much anymore, do you?
No, it's kind of sad. I haven't been around too much, and it's not really coming around as much as I'd like to.
Well, I'm waiting for Dan to accept my invitation to come on the show, because that would just be too much fun having a Dan off.
Who, me? No,
imagine
you.
Dan and Todd at one time. Shit.
Yeah,
I remember Blake talking to Dan or Ben about Vampirella, and they were like, "Oh shit, that book sells." Blake kind of just took it from there, I think, right, Blake?
Yeah, I mean, I was telling them, they were kind of asking, "Oh, what have you worked on?" So I was just giving them my resume a little bit and talking about the kind of characters I really enjoyed writing, and I loved that everything that was going on right in Sean's world, obviously with his potential Murphyverse, we weren't sure, if he was going to do that at the time, but he had mentioned, yeah, I'm going to, I think that maybe it was Ben that said, yeah, we're thinking about doing something with Catwoman. Would you be interested? And I was like, are you kidding me? Yes.
Yeah.
So when I got back from New York, he emailed me and was like, I think you'd be a great fit for this book. And we're thinking of, Sean doing the cover. Would you be able to fit this in? And I was like, of course. So there's like your dream job kind of dropped in your lap, basically. And I was so thrilled. Like if I could have done a backflip down the hallway, I would have been doing that. So
was Catwoman always like a bucket list character for you, Blake?
I think so, because if I think of my favorite like kind of DC characters that are women, I would say it's Poison Ivy for sure and Catwoman, and they're both these kind of like very sexy women, but they also have a real edge to them. They're very they can be like a hero or villain, and I love that dichotomy of their personalities. Their characters are so complex.
Yeah. Actually, I did a cover for Harley that my wife is writing, which was accidentally announced a few weeks ago, and that's not what we're here to talk about. But I did a cover with Neo Joker and Ivy on it, so it's kind of like a Harley Ivy thing.
Right.
And I'm not good at like TNA type stuff. Like I don't draw. I'm not that artist, and I dig that art. I got nothing against it. I love Adam Hughes' stuff, but I don't know. I always feel like I'm gonna get in trouble. So I remember texting Blake a photo like, am I gonna yelled at? Is this okay?
Yeah.
I'm like, can you give me the green light so I don't feel like one of those creeps?
No, I thought it was awesome, and I was like, this is great, but I think the way that she's hanging, because she's hanging upside down, I was like, her boobs would be lower and she'd be like more this way, and I was trying to like tell him, give him like an anatomy lesson, like upside down would be like this, but
yeah,
anyway.
I wanted to lower the boobs to gravity, but I didn't want to get in trouble, and I needed a lady to give me the green light, so I'm like, okay, good.
It's not Sean's fault that he's accustomed to drawing his cars sexier than his women.
No. Yeah, I jerk off more to car porn, let's be honest. But yeah, I guess Joelle Jones, who's a friend of mine, actually Blake and I went out with her and her husband, boyfriend, I forget, her partner, and we all went out to a pub, and Joelle was wrapping up her Catwoman, and she had done so much great work, and the romance and the wedding dress and all that stuff, and she was sort of tapping. I don't remember why she was leaving. And then coronavirus hit. And as far as I know, there hasn't been much on Catwoman until now. So Blake is kind of taking over for just 2 issues. I'm hoping she spikes the numbers like crazy and they get her to come back for some other stuff, because I'd love to see her Ivy take.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Hell yeah.
And what I'm sure a lot of us are hoping, I know I've been hoping for this, and I'm not going to be alone, that hopefully after this we see Blake also working on some White Knight verse.
Yeah, I would love to. I mean, I'm pushing all my friends to get on White Knight, because I'm not I'm not Scott Snyder, and that I'm not a good coordinator. I'm not gonna build spreadsheets and build worlds and stuff. Like if I can hire my friends to do a good job on a thing, great. So I've reached out to Blake to see like, do you have any interest in Neo Joker or Ivy? And I don't even know. I mean, I wish I could snap my fingers and create White Knight books for anybody, but it's turning out harder than I thought. So far, I've only gotten one done, and I had to sucker my wife into writing it. So I think the plan is to see how that sells, and then they'll see if there's more to a White Knight universe. Like I think it's viable. I think it has legs, but with coronavirus too, I know that people in the office are afraid of taking risks. No one wants to get in trouble or get fired or be responsible for a bad line or imprint going out. So I have a feeling that the Harley stuff will do well, and then maybe I can expand even more, and hopefully I can bring Blake in on some more stuff. But here's hoping.
That would be
hopefully they'll remember how the initial risk, if you even want to consider it that, of putting the first White Knight series out, how much that paid off, because that was massive.
You would think, but they have a very short memory, man. These people think in terms of quarterly numbers, so they don't think long term, and it's not their fault. I know they're all doing the best they can, but it's an uphill battle sometimes,
Yeah, I was just
Blake, were you what's your preferred Catwoman, Blake? Do you prefer the Michelle Pfeiffer leather one, or what do you prefer?
Yeah, I think we've already had this conversation.
Yeah.
Michelle Pfeiffer was my first introduction to like what I envision Catwoman. That's what it is. She's just so sexy, and I loved her take on it, and yeah,
You
Michelle
just
Pfeiffer.
posted a picture of that version today or something, didn't you?
Oh, I did. Yeah.
Yeah, for a minute I thought you were doing something. I was like, "What the fuck's going on? What's she doing?" And I was like, "Oh, she's just posting fan art." I was like, "Fuck, okay."
I'm just in a Catwoman frame of mind this month because there's so much great fan art and there's so many incredible artists that have, drawn her or painted her or whatever. And I just I'm really just getting hyped for the book to come out. So yeah, I'm just sharing all that love.
Yeah.
Speaking,
I was going to give a shout out to Kean, the artist, just because I'm glad you guys had him on. I didn't know that. I haven't listened to that one yet.
Such a cool guy.
Yeah, and any Irish person, he speaks like a flute. It's crazy the way they go on about themselves. It's so funny when I hear his interviews. He's such a sweet guy.
Oh, he's so amazing.
And he used to be an art director with a real job, with a 401k and a health plan or whatever.
Yeah, and
I don't know why.
Behind.
Yeah, why that? I'm like, what the fuck are you doing taking Catwoman? But all right, we'll have you. You're awesome.
He left that career behind to come to comics and get yelled at by Klaus Janson.
I forgot about that.
Oh, that's what he said.
Yeah, Klaus yelled at him for not having enough black in his pages.
Oy.
Klaus is a friend. I'm sure he meant well. He gets crabby like any of us. Yeah, I know that if I was with both of them in a bar, I know that I could get them to get along. I'm not worried about that. But yeah, having Klaus yell at you has got to be intimidating.
Yeah, I'm sure. And I wanted to talk about Kean too because you brought up the different iterations of Catwoman, and something that you guys have done in your now beginning Catwoman arc is bringing back the animated series Catwoman costume.
Yeah. So I actually wanted to do whatever Blake wanted, and I can't remember what happened. I think I was trying to get Kean or somebody to like decide on which suit they wanted. I was trying to ask the editor which suit we could use. Can we use the animated series? Do we have to use the one that's canon? And I don't think the editor got back to me. And the cover was due, so I made the call. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go with TAS. I hope Blake is okay with this, And
I loved it.
Okay, good.
Oh my gosh.
Knowing that you like the Michelle Pfeiffer one, I wish I had done that one instead. But I remember being pressed up against the deadline, and I'm like, well, I haven't seen the gray one for a while, so here we go.
Yeah. No, it looks fantastic. I love your cover.
Yeah, I'm glad. Yeah, it was fun, and I'm not. Again, I had to draw her bustier than I normally draw. I usually draw women like with A or B cups because I don't want to get in trouble. I drew her more.
It's not the 90s anymore.
I know. Well, I know the kind of the stuff that Blake tends to gravitate towards and write is. So I was like, oh, I want to fit Blake's branding. So I made her bustier, and then I got a note back from the editor to tone it down a little bit. And that's the only time that DC has ever told me to tone down the boobage, the cleavage.
Sean,
Blake, please step in at any moment here and get my foot out of my mouth, please.
No, I think it's I understand what you're saying, but I think it's more to do with that the outfit she's wearing. It was something to do with like the way the angle or something, and they said that I think they said it had to be altered because of the angle she was at and the outfit, but I don't remember it being just about that.
I remember what it was, but I don't know if I can say it. Fuck it. So her areola was pushing out. And it was too anatomically correct. And I was like, okay, but if you're censoring this, aren't you censoring the natural beauty of women's bodies? But I'm a straight white guy. I'm not allowed to say that, so I shut the fuck up. And I fixed it.
You can't say anything.
Not all heroes wear capes.
It was a little too Jim balanced.
Mm-hmm. I'm not going to push back. I mean, the point of the book was to help Blake, and I'm not going to start, raking people and just give her a bad reputation because she's a friend of mine. So I tried to play it as easy as I could.
So can you give us a little bit about the premise of the story, or is it? Don't spoil it, but kind of lead us into what we should expect in this week's upcoming Catwoman.
Okay, so we should talk about our wonderful kind of brainstorming sessions on this, because they were one of the highlights of getting this book off the ground to me, were like our hilarious kind of visions we had for it. Because Sean is the thing I loved about working with him is he got so much energy, so much passion, for the crazy ideas and being creative. He was just a really fun working partner to collaborate with that way. So we were both thinking that we really had to have this book set in a jungle setting. Now, I don't know how much I'm allowed to say about it. How much can we,
I'd say mention the jungle, mention the villain.
This episode is probably going to come out the day the issue comes out. So It's all up to you how much you talk.
I think you're good. We can just say spoiler alert from now on, if that's okay,
Okay.
Blake. It's
Yeah.
up to you. Like, it's your book, so
Spoiler
whatever
alert.
you want. Okay.
So
Yes.
once we both decided, like, yes, it has to be set in the jungle. We're gonna kind of like go back to her roots. So right out of the gate, I was like, stop drilling, baby, we hit oil here. This is what we're doing. This is so good, and we both had so much energy for it. I think we just convinced the editors, like, yeah, this is what we have to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the note too was they didn't know where they were going to go with Bruce and Selena.
Right.
So they're like, do a story that acknowledges that, but doesn't really extend on that. And I'm like, okay. She goes to a jungle and she doesn't talk about it.
Yeah. Well, it was kind of like a little mini adventure, I think, after. So she's been through this breakup, and they wanted her to have this kind of 2-issue, like, mini arc of what was going on in the meantime, in between when we were kind of writing it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they
So
wanted
this is just
they had
2
an idea for a villain. They wanted, like, we want a man to be the villain. Like, we need the men are always in Selena's way, whatever. So we really want this guy. So we're like, I went through the books. I'm like, all right, let me pick out like a character from the 70s who no one's heard of for 50 years and make him the villain. So I started going through the database and like trying to find searches for like cocaine or jungle or diamonds or whatever, or blood diamonds, just seeing what I could find. And I stumbled across this character called Snowflame.
Yep.
It's literally this character that will do a bunch of coke and he'll charge up with superpowers and white flames will burst from his body. And as far as I know, he has not been used since the 70s. And I was one of those characters who are like, this can't be a DC character. They're going to tell me no. Why would the hell they let me? I don't know what the drug policy is at DC, but fuck it. Let's just do it. So I told Blake, and she's like, all right, great. So we put it to DC, and they didn't tell us no. So we're going to bring back Snowflame for all of you people who've been waiting for it.
All the coke kids. Awesome. So Blake, this is 2 issues.
Yes, 2.
And afterwards, you're gonna write Catwoman in the Murphyverse. Is that what you said earlier? Or?
That's exactly what she said. That's correct.
we are
Maybe
greenlighting it right now.
I don't know.
I would love to, but yeah, right now it's 2 issues,
Well, we know a
and
guy, so.
Snowflame. Oh my gosh, how much fun! I have to give Sean like full credit for Snowflame because we were brainstorming and he came up with this crazy character, and I was like, well, maybe if Sean like floats into them, they'll take like a wacky character and let us like write him as a villain. I don't know.
Yeah, let Sean get fired. He's got the shoulders for it.
No, but he was so much fun to write though. Oh my god.
I was happy to do like whatever Blake wanted. Like I set out like, let's make this as fun and easy for Blake. Like I don't want to weigh in. I want to weigh in as little as I possibly have to. So if the idea was, well, I guess I'll help. Blake and I will come up with the story idea together, and she'll just write the script and do all the hard work, and I'll just sit back and do the easy work, which is what happened. So once we had Snowflame, Jungle, Blood Diamond type thing, I think that's kind of when it started taking shape. Blake, is that correct?
Yep, that seems about right.
How did you guys end up connecting with Kian to come on do the art?
That was all Sean.
Yeah, I reached out to friends to see who was available, and Kian was a guy who's been a friend of mine for a while. He's Irish, so I think I've seen him a handful of times when I've been visiting Ireland. And super nice, super sweet guy. Actually, you know what? I remember being at New York Comic Con once and having an anxiety attack while I was sitting down. And my assistant is great, but he does not understand anxiety attacks at all. And Kian was there, and he's like, dude, I've had these. I got you. Don't worry. So I was like, thank you so much. So I'm like getting my shit together, and Kian manned my table, and I never forgot that he was there for me in my weakest moment. I don't think I owe him. I mean, he happens to be a great artist on top of that. So for me, when I saw his new stuff, it was like, no problem. So I went to DC and asked him, and the editor had already worked with him on Batgirl, I think, some other stuff. Is that right, Blake?
Yeah, I think he did Batgirl. So
yeah. He was already in the system. He was available. He was excited. His stuff was great, and it was just kind of worked out. I mean, I don't think you guys have met yet, have you, Blake? You and Kian?
I haven't met him. No, not in person. We've just texted back and forth, but he has a great energy. He's been so excited, and just I've been so impressed with the level of detail and attention that he took like from the script and managed to capture on the pages, because the the panels literally jump off the page at you. It's just so impressive. And I had a great time going back and forth with him. He's so funny too.
I remember, because drawing jungles isn't necessarily something that all artists are good at. You'd think it would be organic and easy, but that can throw off a lot of artists. So I wrote him like, I love your pages. I think your tech is great, your backgrounds. How do you feel about like jungle foliage? Is that something that you're interested in? And he's like, whatever gets me hired. So I'm like, great, because you're gonna draw a whole bunch of fucking jungles. And then Blake wrote a South American fort that has been converted into a palace. So he did all this crazy rendering on the inside of the palaces, like the detail he has up on the trim of hallways and like arches. It's just nuts. I'm like, man, this is amazing. Like, no one's gonna look at this shit except for other artists. So I was amazed by the amount of work he put in there. So Kian, if you're listening, thank you.
Thank you. And don't forget too, the Lamborghini Countach that we wrote into this was for Sean. I don't know much about cars, but that was the hot thing in the 80s, and I knew that he'd want to take a crack at that. So we did one of those, and you have to check out the license plate because he came up with that too. So good call, Sean.
I think Blake wrote a line. So I threw in Countach, and then Blake wrote Snowflame to be like the 80s semi-mullet guy with crazy, and I think Kian took it even further and gave him like crazy high tops and made him like up with a members only type jacket type of guy. And then, I mean, this is the problem, is no one stepped in to tell us no, so we kept upping the ante. So I'm like, Lamborghini, and Blake's like, cocaine, and Kian's like, 80s.
Yeah.
And then Blake's like, he's doing lines off the dashboard of a Lamborghini. And I don't know when DC weighed in. They're like, all right, everybody calm down. We do have a drug policy here. And then we were like, you let us use a guy named Snowflame. We have to use cocaine at some point, don't we?
Well, they can't stop me from doing some lines off the cover next Wednesday.
Can we quote you on that when we put together the trade?
I think that should be the dressing of the trade. Just 2 lines across the front.
Yeah. There we go. Yeah, we'll make it like a glossy cover so it doesn't absorb the coke.
I've got an idea, Sean. Make the W in Catwoman in white powder.
I'm sure that standards and practices would love that.
Maybe I'll just make that and send you a pic on Twitter.
Blake, what I wasn't paying attention to the last set of emails. Where did we end up on how much drug use is okay in the book?
Wait, it's already white, so you don't have to do anything. It's perfect.
Well, from what I can remember, they said they were going to just change one of the panels to show it kind of, his head is down and it's kind of happening off panel. So it's not a direct sort of, thing that's going on there. It's more implied.
Yeah.
Right. So you had to take out
one of you
panel.
is holding up a W to the screen right now, and it does look like a cocaine-infused W. I'll give you that.
So you had to take out the whole panel of them snorting coke off each other's butts. Then I'm assuming.
Yeah, that had to go.
Yeah, well, Kian, he was so disappointed because that was his favorite panel, but
sucks.
I mean, this isn't Wolf of Wall Street. Come on, man.
Yeah. Well, it is a teen book. It's 13 plus or something. So it does get a little racy. It's a little. We were taking it to a little bit of a different place there, but
yeah.
Well, it's funny what audience comics are expected to be geared towards, because I work in a comic shop and I could count the number of customers under 20 on probably one hand.
Right.
Yeah, I think the average is 35 right now or something like that.
Yeah, well, everyone younger is busy on TikTok and Animal Crossing, and
or just can't read. Basically.
There you go.
They're busy on Tinder getting laid like none of us did, which is why we're losers who got into comics.
Does that mean there's going to be no new generation of comic creators?
We might be the last. I don't know. I just learned what the word incel meant. I didn't even know what that meant until the other day. I looked it up. I've been using it for years as a slur, and I don't know. I just assumed it was fine. Sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a sidebar there. Anyway, back to cocaine.
Yeah.
When we started Catwoman, I don't think we knew the rating. We didn't know the rules, and we were just pushing it as much as we could, knowing that we would get pushed back. And eventually we did. And DC and our editor Jessica, she caught us and helped us tweak it. And I think Kian had to redo one panel, and it all worked out. So yeah, I'm making jokes about drugs. Obviously, it's not a drug comic.
No.
But that's the only way. Pushing and seeing how far you can push is the only way you find out what's okay. And those are the when someone pushes and gets to the limit of where they're allowed to push to, those are the books that people end up loving because it's taking it to a different place.
Exactly, like the Bat Dick books. We all love those. The Bat Penis. I don't think everybody heard me on that one.
Yeah.
I want us all to share an uncomfortable laughter about that. And then wonder
that didn't cause any, that didn't cause any issues.
Yeah,
we don't like to talk about that around here. That was weeks of meetings because of that thing.
I remember talking to Azarello about that, and he's like, "Well, they told us adult," and I'm like, "And you believe them?" Like even I knew that that at best meant PG-13.
Well, they went as far as I have the advanced edition of that came out like a month before issue 1 came out. That was there was no text in it. It's just Lee's art.
Yeah.
And that version was printed lighter than was it lighter? I think it might have been printed like it was all there, and so it's not like they didn't realize what they were printing when that first issue came out.
Yeah.
So they knew what was coming and decided to just put it out and then do damage control after it came out.
Yeah, I mean, it was a miscommunication, I think. There was a change of regime. DiDio was on his way out. Someone else came in, and it is what it is. I mean,
don't blame me, guys, all right?
Yeah. I mean, they told all of us that this was supposed to be Black Label was the HBO of comics. It eventually got backpedaled, and that's their choice. I get it. But we know what the rules now are, I guess. But every now and then, it's our jobs as creators to push it. So if we have a cocaine-fused character, it's our job to put as much coke as we can in that Lamborghini, and it's their job to tell us to cut it out.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, they did show Gordon's dick in 1988. So
yeah,
they did.
Mm-hmm. And Killing Joke.
In Killing Joke, yeah.
Huh.
Oh, shit.
And it's funny. I think it was a week after issue 1 of Damned came out. There was a new issue of Doomsday Clock, and as always, you can see Dr. Manhattan's little blue ween in there. And
the Big Apple.
Actually, it wasn't that big, guys, to be honest.
It's not that big, but when he's literally 8 stories tall, it is giant.
Yeah.
Like
John,
you would get teabagged to death.
Did we ever ask you if they asked you to tone down any of the stuff from White Knight, Curse of White Knight, like with Azrael fucking killing everybody, like, or did they let you just kind of go?
So no. Quick backstory. So I did do a Harley Joker love scene in Volume 1, thinking that you could do tasteful nudity, and I really did try to make it tasteful, and that was not okay. So I had to cover up some stuff. Or they used word balloons to cover some stuff up, which is fine. Yeah. I'd have to redraw it. I drew it knowing this might get nixed, and it did. Yeah. And I drew Joker more naked than Harley, honestly. But anyway, so then in Volume 2, I had a scene where, spoilers, Azrael goes into Arkham and kills about 12 different bad guys. And one of them is Baby Doll, who is like a 40-year-old, but she looks like she's 6. So there's a 6-year-old being stabbed in the back by like a giant Scottish sword, and I'm like, clearly they're gonna catch this and make me. And it got colored and lettered, and no one ever said a thing. So I guess it's okay.
Yeah. Has anyone bought that yet?
Bought what?
That page?
Ooh, good question. I'm sure I'll have to ask my art dealer. I forget.
So
yeah, big fans of child murder. Has someone bought it? Yeah, I don't know. Whoever buys that is gonna have like an FBI tail.
It might be a hard one to sell.
The lesson is small child being impaled by a sword, okay to print. Bruce Wayne's penis in a dark room.
Yeah. Come on, it's inappropriate. We don't.
And I heard he even gave you consent to draw himself like that way too.
He said it was cool.
He was totally.
He was asking for it. Let's just be honest. No, it's funny because I drew a page once in Hellblazer of a guy having sex with a corpse of a dog, and it was a splash page, and it was so hard to draw. It really bummed me out, and it made it hard to draw the rest. I wish I had saved that. Yeah, no shit. And someone bought that page right away, and I don't want to meet that person.
Somebody from West Virginia.
So wait, I actually told this story at a panel once, and Dan DiDio leans into his mic. He goes, "I got that hanging on my wall."
My favorite piece of art that I own.
Like, you drew the shit out of that dog. What am I going to do? Not going to buy it?
So Blake, do you get any of the original art from these Catwoman issues?
I don't know. I think actually Kian said he might send me one.
Nice.
That would be really cool.
Rad.
Do you own any original art, Blake? Do you collect any stuff, anything like that?
I have a couple. I have a piece from when I did my first book for Arena Mode that I had commissioned from Steve McNiven. So I have that, and I do have a couple of things. Not too much. I don't.
Like I have to say that I liked Executive Assistant with
Executive Assistant.
Yeah,
Iris, right?
Iris, yeah, and that's I was reading that thinking if this is where she's taking Catwoman, because she's a strong, female, basically an alpha female that can hold her own in a fight. I was like, I think she's got the chops here to write Catwoman the way that Catwoman needs to be written.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that was a great book for Aspen Comics, and that character is definitely like a kick-ass assassin, and I find that I guess I'm drawn to these sort of stories. I love doing these type of stories that are almost Elseworlds or what if books, where I have more creative freedom to kind of take these characters in different directions. Which I really love the same thing with Catwoman here, because in this book, because she's a little bit more, it's like the 13 plus and everything. I got to have a lot of fun with it. And it's definitely a kick-ass story for sure.
Nice. Is there any other like DC character that you're dying to write, Blake?
Oh my goodness.
Good question.
So you said Ivy before, but any I'm assuming you'd love to write Batman at some point or whatever.
I mean, yeah, every girl's dream is to write Batman. But I do. I mean, yeah, I love characters that are very, have a lot of complexity to them. And I mean, I have some really cool ideas actually for a Booster Gold. I think that could be really fun. Kind of like DC's answer maybe to Deadpool, if he was handled correctly. That's something I kind of had an idea for. But yeah, Poison Ivy is definitely one that I would love.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Baby Doll Dying.
Yeah.
Be a good one.
So Blake, in your opinion, is Poison Ivy a villain or a hero?
Answer this carefully because you'll get fucking attacked on Twitter for this.
Oh my god, the Ivy League. They mean well, but they're very intense.
We can edit this.
We're not kidding either. Holy shit.
Okay, I don't want to get caught in any kind of like controversy over this.
Is Poison Ivy a villain? Watch your fucking steps, Blake.
I think
Next question.
Yeah,
I think she is, but she doesn't mean to be. And I think if you can write a story where she redeems herself, I think that's what they love is when Ivy rides the line. I think that's the best kind of Ivy story.
That cocaine line, yes.
What I think would make a great story in the comics for her, I don't know how much video games you guys do these days, but her story in Arkham Knight would be something very cool in comics.
Cool.
Yeah. The voice actress is awesome that did her that too.
Yeah, Tasia. Yeah, she was on the show before. She does such a great Ivy.
Yeah. Like, didn't I see you were? I know you don't do this often anymore, but you were cosplaying and someone did a cover of you or something.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah. I mean, I don't call it cosplaying. I casplay. It's like my casual cosplay because there's women who do it professionally and they're incredible, or everybody who gets into that, they're just incredible. But mine are, like Halloween type costumes.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah, I do love to get dressed up sometimes, and I've done a Poison Ivy, and a couple of fun characters. I like to do that at Halloween just for fun.
Yeah. It seemed like you enjoyed it. I didn't know what cosplay was. I thank you for lady explaining that to me.
Man, I've learned so many new words today.
Yeah. Good. I didn't know that.
Because it's current, I wanted to ask you a little bit about Everglade Angels. Now, this is I say this a lot about books, particularly when it's the beginning of a series. I like when I open up a book and when reading the first issue, I can feel like I'm watching like the opening 20 minutes of a film, and that that story and the way it's told, it gave me that feeling. Like it feels like you're watching the plot of a film being set up.
Right. Well, that's intentional because, the way we wrote that was we wanted to have a very cinematic feel to it. It's actually being, we've been talking to a couple of producers about potentially translating that to a screenplay for film or TV rights or something. So that's exciting. It's always good to have your own creations and to be able to work in your own kind of sandbox of characters, which I always enjoy. But I also have something coming up which I wanted to tell you about, which is a new cyberpunk universe that I have developed for Heavy Metal Magazine, which is called Synapse, and that'll be dropping actually next on August 19th, and it'll be appearing in their number 300 All-Star issue. So I'm really excited about this because it's kind of being developed into like part of their universe, which is really neat. They're going to be expanding into podcasts. So so they're going to have a separate story that's a spin-off of the story that I'm doing with Giuseppe Caffaro, which is an Italian artist, and he is just absolutely breathtaking artwork. And so I'm really excited for that to come out too.
So is that like episodic podcast?
So I don't know if you guys know, it's more like a dramatic reading. I don't know if you've ever heard, like the BBC does these really amazing readings of books. So my favorite that I've heard is Neil Gaiman's Neverwhere. And they had a full cast, including like James McAvoy, Natalie Dormer from Game of Thrones was in it, Benedict Cumberbatch, and Anthony Head from who plays Giles in Buffy.
And he was also in Repo.
Yes. So it was so cool to hear. It's got like sound effects and music.
Wow.
They do a great job. So I've heard a few samples from them, and it's like nothing I've ever heard before. And I'm really, really super excited for it to come out. So
that's rad.
Yeah.
This just gave me an idea. We should do this for these issues. Like we'll have Blake and Sean come back, and we'll do a reading, and they can choose which character they want. I think Sean wants to do, we know which he wants to be the villain. And Blake can be Catwoman.
Like they would act it out.
Yeah,
and Tom's gonna be Dan DiDio.
I was gonna say, just have DiDio. Just have it like DiDio. And so, yeah, exterior shot. Batman drives up with Catwoman in the Batmobile.
Oh, man, Blake, you met Dan, right? You know that he sounds
Yeah.
exactly like that. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's a great.
And as I always feel compelled to mention that when we imitate Dan, we do it with love. We've always liked Dan.
Love Dan.
Yeah.
Fucking
As in,
love
when I imitate him, I do it out of hatred.
Well, you do everything out of hatred.
That's true. Yeah. My whole
spite.
career is like a fuck you to whoever. I don't know. No, Dan and I clicked. Dan and I got along really well. When he left, I've been texting with him and just checking in, and I really do hope he makes a comeback of some kind because I think he was an asset, and I don't see why he was so divisive. I thought it's a tough job. Like who could do that job well for 20 years or whatever? How long he was doing it, So
yeah, I always felt that his job is one of those jobs that there are certain decisions that you have to make, whether it's because the higher ups, the parent company, whatever, are telling you what you have to do, or you're just out of necessity, you have to make these calls, and no matter who is in the position at the time, they were going to have to make those calls.
Yeah. I mean, he was good. We met him. He was good to Blake, and he helped me with White Knight. Like, I got no beef at all.
Yeah.
Listen, Nightwing's alive and Dan is gone. That's it. That's where he went wrong with me.
With Nightwing.
Sorry, Dan.
Well, I thought it was more than just Nightwing. I thought it was a bunch of characters he always wanted, like to.
He canceled before cancel culture became a thing. He canceled Nightwing.
Nightwing's
the scenes, apparently.
Isn't Nightwing slowly starting to come back though? He's been getting fucked up like for years now.
Dick is on the way back.
Yeah, I saw that. I forget what arc or what storyline he's going to come back into.
Well, he's a part of Joker War. So I think by the end of Joker War, we're going to have full-fledged Nightwing back.
Yeah, see, I told you he was going to come back eventually. All you guys bitching about nothing. Jesus Christ, get a fucking
Blake, how did you get the heavy metal gig?
How did I get heavy metal? No, they contacted me because they'd seen some of my writing and they had an opportunity for this All-Star issue,
Yeah.
and they were talking about wanting this like kind of like a return to like really cool like heavy metal.
Yeah.
Used to be with a little bit more out of the box, I guess, and coming back to rock and roll and kind of sexy stuff. So
Yeah.
I am excited. It's going to be really cool. It's like a cyberpunk universe. So
Yeah. When I remember buying that as a kid, and I hid it under my bed because I guess I wasn't supposed to have it. I was a Catholic little kid with guilt, so I hid everything from my parents. And I always thought, like, I feel like every story, the editors must tell every writer, we need to have nudity, like, period. At some point, you can draw all the lasers you want, but at some point, some guy or girl's got to get naked.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of this is what we do here. Is that still the case, or like how did they tell you, like? Did you pitch them what you wanted to do? Did they say that sounds good, but we need nudity? I mean,
okay. They did not say that they need nudity at all. That's silly. But they were very open to like all of the creative ideas we had. Because I pitched it with Giuseppe because we talked about we went in kind of as like a team. We were going to work on it together. And there is one panel of semi-nudity, but that was kind of organic to the story, so it's not like it's not gratuitous or anything, but it does make sense for the story.
Seems like they know who to pick.
Yeah.
Is that who is that, the Laird or the other Ninja Turtle guy? Does he still own that, or who owns heavy metal right now?
I don't even know. I know
Grant Morrison is the editor-in-chief, though.
Oh, is he?
I think he used to be. I don't think he is anymore.
It was a couple of years ago.
Oh,
Matt,
okay.
Yeah, Matt Medney is who I've been mostly chatting with, and
Too much work. I couldn't keep up with it.
That's who I want to have a podcast, is Grant Morrison, to do a podcast with Billy Connolly, and we'll throw
need
Kian
some
on that
cocaine
too.
then.
Some mushrooms, boy.
He can
You ever had a mushrooms, boy? Drop some acid before we do it.
Okay, I know that this wasn't meant to be the exactly the main topic of conversation here, but I did, because by the time this comes out, it's going to be right at the end of the funding window. I did want to talk a little bit about Plot Holes, your Indiegogo campaign, Sean.
Oh yeah, sure, Blake. Do you
Yeah,
mind?
go for it.
Blake? Okay, yeah. Sorry, I didn't know we could do this. Yeah, sure.
Of course.
So
yes,
as it
Plot
stands
Holes.
right
It's
now,
a thing that's
we're
happening.
coming. Yeah, we're coming towards the end of the funding period, and it's gone over great. But this is obviously, because it's creator owned. It gives you the chance to play with all of your own toys.
Yeah.
So you don't have to worry about what you're allowed to do with whom and what you can and can't push. But everyone
Yeah.
seems really excited for it.
Yeah, I hope so. I feel like I think I said last time that my goal has been do one for them and one for me. And the one for them is Batman, because that's a clear moneymaker. It's when you wave the flag. And then one for me is like the indie movie. So I kind of wanted to return to my indie roots and do a book called Plot Holes. And my plan was to do it crowdfunded, then go through. If Image was interested in picking it up after, or I was going to distribute it to my European friends. So yeah, I kind of wanted to work out a new system, a new business plan, so to speak, and I would own the IP the whole way. And then COVID hit, and I wasn't sure if it was even appropriate to launch an Indiegogo, because it's just like the first few days when COVID hit, it's like, what do we do? Is the world out? I mean, is it super tacky if I ask for money for a book, even though, I'm one of the top people in comics? So I honestly I made a YouTube video, and I'm like, please tell me what to do. I don't want anyone to get mad at me. I was thinking about crowdfunding. Is that okay? I don't want to get yelled at. And overwhelmingly, people were like, yes, please crowdfund. Why are you wasting our time? Stop being such a coward. So I did. And as the industry has been going through some weird changes, I feel like what I've ended up doing is try to investigate a new way of publishing, because I've had to. So shops aren't necessarily able to open in some cases. Getting distribution going has been tricky. Shipping to England in Europe is expensive, and it's changing. There's no flights. There's very few flights going that way. So it's been kind of a big question mark. So halfway through the campaign, I'm like, all right, I feel like I need to figure out a new delivery system for this. So I started researching what to do. And my idea is, and I think this is like what big creators should do from now on during COVID, is if any big creator is listening to this, what I recommend is crowdfund your trophy book. So if you plan on your end game being oversized, deluxe, super nice, 6 issues contained into one hardcover, do that first. Then split it up and find a publisher to break it up into floppies. That way you alleviate the publisher of any responsibility of having to pay you money that they currently don't have. So, I don't know this for sure, but there are some companies who are like probably miffed by the idea of like, you shouldn't need to crowdfund. We should just pay you. This is how traditional comics work. Well, yeah, but then COVID hit and now things are weird. So I feel like for me, what I'm going to continue to do is this system I designed where kickstart your trophy book. You break up each chapter into floppies. You find a publisher to handle all of those, and then you figure out if you want to distribute online. In Europe. And the other nice thing is I can release PDFs for half price and compete with the big guys. So for 5 issues, I'm only charging $10, which is like literally half the price that Marvel and DC are charging. I just think that digital should be cheap. I'm not afraid to make it cheap, and I think that we just have no choice but to figure it out this way. And I only thought I would do a handful of units digital, and I sold like over 200 of them just digital. So I feel like people who can't afford it are happy to pay $9.99 for this or whatever, So I see everybody making faces. I don't know what's going on back there. I don't know
the New Yorkers, they've got their own little world going on.
Okay.
I'm listening.
But as far as the timing of doing it, I'm glad that you did go forward with it, because like personally what I found it did for me is because when the whole world stopped and I realized, okay, well, Comic Cons aren't going to be happening this year.
Yeah.
So, I have, each year I have, X amount of dollars that I would put aside for con trips and all that stuff. And when that was all stopping and your crowdfund came out, well, that's what I'll do with some of that con money that I would use. I'll back this, and then I'll have something to look forward to coming in.
Yeah, that's one thing I failed to consider is I thought people's spending would shut down, but people are dying for escapism. And if they can't go to their shop, then at least they can contribute to a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo and feel like they're contributing to something creative and get behind the scenes look or feel like they're helping out a book from the ground level, whatever it is. So I found that people are going to spend their convention money whether there are conventions or not. So yeah, I think I benefit from that. Honestly, like if anybody does a crowdfund book right now, it's just a boon, honestly. With coronavirus sucks. Like, don't get me wrong. We've had to find interesting ways around shipping, and we still haven't cracked the code on how to get it to England at a decent price, But yeah, I mean, I took a loss. I stopped drawing Batman, so I basically took a 50% pay cut in order to design this system to try to figure out a new way to get it out. And luckily, we're still making some kind of profit. But I just hope that this is something that the industry can do from now on, because I think it's crazy that digital comics cost the same as regular comics. And
agreed.
I think the trophy edition of books doesn't have to compete with the floppy for the Wednesday Warrior. Like, I feel like I know we're tied to our traditions, but do we really need to be? So I feel like we've been waiting for a big figure to step up and try to make a mark and try something different, and no one else is doing it. So I guess I'm the guy. So pass or fail, this is kind of the way I see it working from now on. And after this, I'll go back to Batman and do Volume 3 or whatever. And then I'll do Plot Holes Volume 2, and I'll probably do the same thing. Use Indiegogo or Kickstarter or whatever. And yeah, I hope that people will adapt the model, because I think it works. Assuming you're willing to do the work and the promotion that you need to do and all that.
Well, Blake, you're also a veteran of the crowdfunding comics, especially with like Everglade Angels. How's it? And also, a very successful campaign at doing the crowdsource funding. What's your experience been like with that model?
Yeah. Well, when I did my novels, it's a little bit different than when you're doing comics, obviously, because the novels have a prestige format. They're hardcovers, they're really heavy. So like Sean was saying, even trying to get them overseas, or I have people all around the world who are buying them. That's always tricky to work out, like the packages and all of that. But I've had nothing, but positive experiences for my crowdfunding. My trilogy of books for Arena Mode did really well, and the same for North Valley Grimoire. And I'm actually going to be releasing the follow-up to that, which is called The Celestial Kill Switch, and it's going to come out later this year. So I'm really excited for that, and I'm, after seeing how well, everything happened with Sean's, I'm really hopeful, and I'm excited to do it. I find it's a really good way to interact with the customers directly. I like when you have the distribution model when things go directly to the comic stores or whatever, but being able to get these emails from people and they're like, "Oh my gosh, Blake sent me this package," and they're so excited to be a part of it and to get, I always make the marketing side of it is also something I'm really interested in. So when I did my book, like the stickers and the packaging, and they get this really cool kind of package with I had a magic system. So there was a sticker on it that was like a warning label, and they just loved that. It was so fun to get people,
Yeah.
wanting to share in your excitement.
No, you're really good at that stuff, man. I mean, I feel like you are the whole package by doing this stuff yourself and being a self-starter, being motivated. And I mean, I feel like a lot of creators wait around for the industry to make their books for them. And you're one of the rare people that is a do-it-yourselfer, So I think that's totally what makes you an asset. So, yeah.
So,
Oh, thank you.
I'm curious for both of you, is the quarantine, pandemic, whatever 4 or 5 months we've been in, has that allowed you to get ahead creatively at all?
Blake, why don't you go first?
It's weird actually, because when the pandemic hit, I had just finished Catwoman, but then I got offered the heavy metal things, and I've been working on my own screenplays, which I can't really talk about, and also everything kind of fell into place with Everglade Angels. So I've been actually very busy during the pandemic, just myself, but I don't know, everyone is different. So for me, it's been crazy just trying to deal with the kids and writing. It's been very busy.
Yeah, anybody with children right now who have to homeschool at the same time, I cannot imagine how tough that must be.
Yeah,
I have a 4-year-old, so it's been interesting.
Yeah. Any other guys have kids?
Yeah, I have
a few of us
I have
do.
an 8-year-old. I come from a design background, so it's definitely challenging to get your work done and also help with homework, or just make her a cheese sandwich at 12. It's like you have to stop your whole world and make her a grilled cheese, So
within 30 seconds.
Where's my food, Dad? But I think this whole experience has really helped us kind of assess what's important. And from your perspective, I wanted to jump in before, with the whole Kickstarter. I think what people are learning is this has created a whole a la carte system where a fan can kind of commit to the level that they want. So like what you said, with the whole digital, maybe going to a store, or also maybe getting a deluxe version, people have more liberties with kind of receiving the content. And I think that's really important, because like you said, people overseas who can't get the books, maybe it becomes more affordable, and the day that the content releases, they can still access that information, So it's become a whole realm of spending and also receiving this information, to where it's more digestible and it's within your budget. You can make it your own. So,
It's a good way to look at it, man.
Yeah, and it gives opportunities that buying in the traditional retail space does not. If a book comes out, say a creator on like an Image book or a Dark Horse book or something comes out, as a trade paperback, and you buy that and you love it, and then it does really well in sales. So then they release a deluxe edition hardcover of it, and you say, oh, I would love to have that. I already bought the paperback. I spent $25 for that. now there's this nice hardcover that's $55. Do I buy both? This is why we all have 8 copies of Dark Knight Returns. But with the way crowdfunding works, like the Indiegogo, the plot holes campaign was a great example of that. Like, okay, so we have this. There's the trade paperback level, and if this does well enough, then we're going to start offering this hardcover. And if we get to this stretch goal, we're going to make it a deluxe edition hardcover. So you get that opportunity to, okay, well, I bought in at the trade paperback level, but now I've seen more of what the interior art is like, and I'm more excited about this. So now I can actually change the level that I bought in at. I can upgrade that, and now I want that deluxe edition hardcover now, and I can get an artist edition with it, and so it's a very cool opportunity to upgrade your purchases in a way that you can't in retail space.
Right. Yeah, you definitely, when you put an order in your pull box, you're kind of stuck with it, whether you like the graphic novel or not. But with Indiegogo or Kickstarter, it's nice because like you're seeing updates, you're seeing the art. You have a chance to pull out anytime you want. So if you're committed to the full 30 or 60 days, then you're going to get a product that is at least going to be a B plus, So I feel like that's for customers to feel like they know what they're getting ahead of time. And I'm not charging them double. I'm not doing what some Indiegogo people are doing where you're kind of gouging them for, a floppy or whatever, shilling this for $20 as a collected edition. Like, I'm trying to do it straight. I don't want to gouge my readers. I want everyone to walk away happy. So, we've kind of gone into this carefully, trying to figure out what customers want, trying to take feedback, and tweak things as we can. And the only thing we really can't fix is shipping to England, into France. Sorry. The best thing we could do there was sign on with Diamond to ship over as boxes and crates, whatever, to get it through Diamond, which you can do. And then Diamond assumes the risk and not the shops or not us. So I don't know. It's something no one really cares about. But at the very least, I thought, well, if I offer the PDF for $9.99, no one can really complain about that. Like, I'm not denying anybody the right to read the book at a cheap ass price. Like, who the hell is going to complain, Yeah, I hope so. I mean, I don't know how the customers view these things. Like, I find that I'm out of touch, honestly, with what customers want sometimes because I don't read as much as a Wednesday Warrior. So when I get to talk to you all, it's always interesting learning where your heads are at as far as how things are spun and how comics are coming out,
I have one request for your Indiegogo, campaign where you were allowing people to be drawn into the book.
Yeah.
We've got one of our Bat Force members who has taken that upon. I want you to draw him with like a big old bald spot, man. Can you do that for me?
Well, he's got to send in a photo and sign.
He talks a lot of shit about that and brags about it, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to talk to Sean tonight.
Maybe give him a gimp leg or something.
Does he actually have a bald spot? Or are you guys just being
No.
assholes?
Okay. No, we're purely being assholes.
All right.
Blake, do you currently have any crowdfunds open, or have yours closed for the moment?
No, mine are closed right now. I'll be starting up another one for like I mentioned, for my novel. That'll be the next one that I do. So I'll make sure to post all of that up on my social media pages. But yeah, it's exciting. I always love doing them. It takes a lot out of you though, because I end up doing all the fulfillment myself as well. Mm-hmm. So I have to gear myself up for that, but it's a huge endeavor, but I love it. So I'm excited for my next book to come out.
It seems like you must love it because you're good at it. Like your promotion's there. You're always good to customers. People can be as mean as they want. Usually you'll just nice them to death. Your selfie game is on spot. So yeah, I'm jealous of how good you are at that stuff. Like if you weren't writing comics, I'd hire you to promote my stuff because I can't be bothered.
That's cool. I have an opportunity there to fall back on another career. I like it.
There you go.
And I think I've seen you post photos of being in the process of doing your fulfillment.
Oh yeah, because I do it out of my house, and I've actually like hired my kids. Like they want to earn extra money, so I'm like, all right, you're old enough now. My daughter's 13, so she'll be like, I'll take all the stickers and I'll help you, and we're just sitting there at the table for hours loading them into the book. I'll sign it. She'll throw a sticker in or whatever. And I do it right out of my house. So.
Have you taught your daughter how to forge your signature so she can sign stuff for you? I've debated teaching my wife and my assistant how to sign my name because it's just a lot of books sometimes.
It's a lot. It's exhausting, isn't it? But it's so much fun. I don't know. I love it.